What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we got a live mock draft. It's a startup mock for you guys, Superflex Tight End Premium. So we will be doing that for you. Me and War, we're each going to pick a team. And we're just going to go head to head. We're going to give you guys analysis on why we're picking guys, kind of walk you through our strategies, and we're going to go through and do that for you. So we're going to do 15 rounds. It is start 10. And so we'll be drafting the 10 starters and 5 bench for you just to keep it under that hour. So if you guys are here early, we really do appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in. I hope you guys are ready for the ride that is about to be this mock draft today. Just want to shout out Space and Feld. I see you said you're ready, man. I appreciate you being in here. The usual suspects as always. So thank you again for being in here. Thank you so much. And speaking of usual suspects, why don't we bring in MFGDs, aka War, for y'all, and let's talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football. War, what's up?
I may be an unusual suspect.
An unusual suspect. There you go.
I'm
But
up here with a hood on, hoodie MFG.
there you go. I interrupted you. Apparently, we miscommunicated on times. It's my fault. I thought you said 4 o'clock your time, and you definitely said 4:30. So I appreciate you hopping on early.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. I got back from seeing Guardians of the Galaxy right on time.
Is it good?
It was sad.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
pretty damn sad, man.
My wife wants to go see it this weekend, so we'll see how that.
She might cry, so be ready for that.
She loves Marvel, so we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
as far as football news, do we have any major football news that has come out over the last week or so? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't think anything crazy, right?
Not nothing too crazy.
It's been a
Yeah.
quiet week,
Yeah.
which is good. Which is good. I think we had rookie. What was it? Rookie mini camps that started, so we got
Yeah,
to
we
see a
got
little bit of that.
OTAs now.
All of our rookies got their photos taken. Jake Hayner for the Saints had a meme for his one. He was doing like a little photo shoot and he was modeling and doing like a whole bunch of like goofy
I
stuff.
heard
And his,
about that.
yeah, so I guess that's the most news we've got. So we did get rookie photos. So maybe in your sleeper leagues, we will be getting updated photos here very soon. So
Hopefully.
that is the most news that we have for you guys today. But with that being said, I already told you guys we were going to do the 15 rounds of a mock draft. War, have you got a chance to join that?
Yeah, I picked it spot 2.
Okay. I'm not seeing you in here, but I'm going to pull it up and share it on the screen. This is what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing you there.
Well, isn't that just prime? Hold on.
Isn't that dandy?
I mean, I'm definitely in a mock draft. Hold on, let me.
That is news. Space and Feld said Brady became a minority owner of the Raiders. So yes, that is news for sure.
I didn't want to mention that because you shut it down earlier this week when I tried to say it was an attempt for him to come back.
Yeah, so you said it. Yeah, that's why I shut it down, because you mentioned it in an aspect of like this was more than just him buying ownership, and to me, it is just what it is. I think Tom Brady is working on business after football.
Oh man, you picked low draft. I should have picked the middle too.
What
Would have made it a
what do you?
little more realistic.
Fair enough. I do like that we're a little bit further apart on this, so we're not like necessarily sniping each other every time. But what do you make of Tom Brady? Do you think he's going to end up doing this Fox deal or no?
I think Brady is going to sit there and then get the itch, and then by week 8, he's going to be trying to play.
I don't
And
know.
he's either going to be talked out of it, or somebody, or he's not going to be talked out of it and actually play. So
I hope not. I really, and not because I don't like Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady. I just think that you've retired twice now, and don't do this a third time. Don't do this whole thing again. I feel like that's embarrassing, bro. But
it will be embarrassing.
um, Superflex tight end premium PPR. That's how we're operating with this one, War. So I will go ahead and start the draft. We have 2 minutes on the clock, so just go ahead and make your selections and talk us through your thought processes and why you're making these picks. So we'll just go ahead and we'll do that. So I'm going to start this right now. We're ready to go.
All right, so it's a super flex league. Obviously, I'm going to take Josh Allen because he's the second best quarterback. I would have took Joe Burrow, but I want to stay realistic as possible of what I would actually do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, early on, there's not going to be a lot that we have to talk about as far as these picks go, but you kind of said it already. This is a Superflex Dynasty League. You kind of see who's coming off the board already with Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Burrow, Fields, Herbert. Um, Quarterbacks fly, and they fly fast, especially in these first
Yeah,
two rounds.
didn't think
So
Fields would be gone already.
you didn't think so?
No,
So
it's very
that is that's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now. So for me, I'm going to go with somebody who I have ranked as my number 6 quarterback in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Sitting here
Did
at
you
the A
notice he
spot.
got picked before Justin Herbert? Well, no, before you pick your guy, I have to get your opinion here because this is big to you. He got picked before Justin Herbert. You don't have anything to say about that?
It's where ADP is right now. I personally would not be making that pick. I mean, I think for
I know.
me, I think Justin Fields is somebody that I'm considering more as I get down here towards this back end of the first, maybe as you loop around that early second. I don't think you can get him early second, but he's somebody you take after Herbert. He's somebody you take after this guy that I'm going to pick right here, Trevor Lawrence. And then as you loop back around, there's probably one more guy that I would consider, but I ended up going with the guy
Wow.
who is a top 6 QB for me, and it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And you see right off the board, Bijan Robinson at
Yeah, over
109.
Jamar Chase. Interesting.
Yeah, and then Jamar Lamar, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Brees Hall, Jonathan Taylor, and AJ Brown. So some of those running backs, some of those wide receivers coming off the board now. So you get a little bit of that run of the QBs where they kind of slow down just a tiny bit. But
Just a tiny bit.
to me, it is super flex in super flex leagues. I love building my team around a very strong quarterback core. I like having two
Very
guys that I
smart.
think are top 10. Um, I'm going Kyler Murray.
Wouldn't have been my pick, but I definitely don't have a problem with you picking Kyler Murray. Um,
While you're thinking, Amon-Ra St. Brown,
right.
Jalen Waddle, Dak Prescott, Anthony Richardson, and Tyreek Hill come off the board. So 3 quarterbacks in that second round so far. Are you going to dip down into that, or are you going to kind of wait until that third pick?
You know what? Let me see. I am at the top of the draft. Let me see here. What do I have here? I might do something a little controversial.
Okay.
Might do something a little controversial here. Let me see here. Um, I'm going to take this opportunity to take the best tight end in the league.
Whoa. UC Spacenfeld, he says, got to double tap those QBs in Superflex Dynasty. But you go Travis Kelce. Tell me why you went Travis Kelce.
Because I feel like there was no wide receiver available that's better than Travis Kelsey.
Okay.
And I had a feeling that the quarterback that I was looking at swinging back around the take was still going to be there on the board. Which I'll tell you now, some guys will disagree, some will agree. I'm taking Tua
Whoa.
because I feel like Tua is going to put up numbers. I just have to cross my fingers and hope he's healthy. But this will probably prompt me to take a third quarterback earlier than I really want to. But
Mm-hmm.
you know how I draft, Andrew. I like to insulate myself.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, we had Deshaun Watson, Tua, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Austin Eckler, Bryce Young, and T. Higgins come off the board. So a couple more of those young wide receivers, we saw them come off the board. How do you feel about Kenneth Walker coming off the board early third with this Zach Charbonnet news. Do you still think that that's a good spot for him, or do you think it's a little high?
You mean the news as far as Zach Charbonnet getting drafted at all?
Yeah, I mean him going to the
Yeah. So
Seahawks and kind of
yeah.
going to eat into that.
So yeah. So that's why I didn't even give Kenneth Walker any type of thought in these rounds. Honestly, I'm thinking more like maybe round 5, round 6 if he's there. Like I'm not looking for a timeshare running back this early in the rounds. Like having a
Fair enough.
timeshare running back is like hell. And I think me and you kind of have the same philosophy on building some of these teams where I'd rather stack up on wide receivers and take my chances at running back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I typically like to kind of punt the running back position a little bit in the startups because it's something that you can figure out as you go. It's the easiest position to fill in, and
Yeah.
I just like building around some stronger building pieces. I got 20 seconds here on the clock, so I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I've really been debating between locking up the tight end position like you did with Kyle Pitts or taking my wide receiver one. And I think I'm going to lean at going my wide receiver one, and I'm going to go with Chris Olave for the Saints as my wide receiver one.
Wow. I'm surprised you made that pick.
I'm rising on Chris Olave fast, man. I'm catching a little bit of Olave fever. I need to calm it down.
In love with Olave. That's a team name right there.
It's for real.
In Olave.
Okay, so we had CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Travis Etienne, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Kyle Pitts.
I think you still have a good little opportunity here to take care of some stuff you wanted to take care of with this pick.
I would have loved Kyle Pitts to fall one more. I would have loved it.
I mean, but do you love him more? Do you love him that much more than Mark Andrews?
Um,
I mean, Kyle Pitts, a lot, Kyle Pitts is a dude for sure, but he struggles to score that touchdown.
it depends. I think he looked good when healthy last year. I just think we didn't have a lot of healthy time for him last year. Mariota to Ritter, as crazy as it sounds, it's an upgrade, I think. So I do like Pitts a little bit. And as you can kind of see how I've started to build this already, it's starting to take shape as a younger team, something that's building towards the future. So Pitts over Andrews kind of makes sense there. Um, but I don't like to really pick a direction of the team right away in these early rounds. I kind of like to have a couple more rounds tell me where I'm at. And so, with that being said, I think I'm going to lean one more. With Pitts off the board, there's a couple tight ends that I like still. So, I'm going to take the shot and I'm going to go with another young alpha wide receiver in Drake London.
Interesting. Interesting. So now,
So, DK comes off the board, Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, and Javonte Williams,
oh man,
leaving you.
I got left with some complete crap at wide receiver. And by crap, I don't mean crap, but I mean like I'm not. I don't see anybody I'll be comfortable being my wide receiver one. So I kind of f the pooch here.
Yeah, it dropped off pretty fast. I mean,
Yeah,
we had a lot of wide receivers come off the board.
yeah, and I definitely was eyeing. Thought I was going to get one of those guys that was taken here.
So you do have Josh Allen, Travis Kelsey, Tua. You're looking for a wide receiver one. If you're not finding that, how comfortable are you going running back here? Do you see anybody that's a difference maker or
Oh Jesus Christ! Difference maker. That's quite a word.
I mean somebody you're plugging in as an RB1 in a startup, like it's got to be somebody you think can be there for at least 2 to 3 seasons.
Let's see. Shoot. I'm about to start getting a little creative here and start taking some big swings. And start going with what I think is going to happen. So and I don't necessarily like him, but I'm going to take Najee.
Okay.
Just for the volume. For the volume alone, I'm taking Najee.
Okay.
And now I'm definitely going to have to go wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of lucked out too, having Chubb and Stevenson come off the board next because it left all the same wide receivers on the board.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking here. I'm looking at the ADP, and I think there's definitely some slept on wide receivers here. So I think I'm going to be able to get some things done here. So I think I'm going to actually do something a little crazy, and I think I'm going to. I don't like him as a running back one, but as a running back two, I'll take him.
I don't
And
mind it.
I'm definitely going. I'm going. I'm spitting in the face of my own draft strategy by doing this, but I'm just looking at the talent that's already off the board. And
Yeah,
I look down, I'm gonna have to rely on some rookies and some vets.
yeah. So just following your pick, TJ Hawkinson, Quentin Johnston, Christian Watson, Derrick Henry, Trey Lance. And again, I was just kind of waiting on that tight end TJ Hawkinson to fall down, and he doesn't. So it's just I'm at an awkward position where I'm not really getting any of the tight ends I want, and now we're getting to a point where it's like I kind of have to wait a little bit longer now because I'm not comfortable taking George Kittle or Goddard here at the 5'8". Maybe if Kittle comes back around 6'5", I'll think about it. But right now, it still feels a tiny bit high for Kittle, especially with him being 29 going on to 30, and the way he plays, it's a little hard on the knees and hard on the body, and um, this team right here, it's just super young, man. I feel like this team is one that could compete right now, but also like I want to be good in 2 seasons or 3 seasons. You know what I mean? Like I want to have a
Yeah.
long window here. So with that being said, I think I'm gonna look potentially. The QBs are slimming slightly, but nothing crazy.
Can I go a little bit in depth to my strategy here?
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it.
Travis Kelsey is old, and
Hmm.
I took him pretty damn early. I did because I want to win now, and I want to like have a young team. I feel like running backs are kind of irrelevant. They're like batteries to me. Like they're there to just score points. But I feel like the lifeblood of a team is wide receivers and quarterbacks. And it's clear I'm going to have to take a bunch of young wide receivers, which I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. So I kind of expect me to go probably the next 3 rounds taking wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at you. I mean, you see who I took. I took, Michael Pittman Jr. He's going to round out those 3 wide receiver slots for me. So I'm going to go in with Olave, London, and Pittman.
Yeah,
Um,
that's looking
I
good.
feel
That's looking good.
very good about that.
Yeah.
But Debo Samuel comes off the board. Pollard, uh, JMO, Damian Pierce, Godwin, Kittle, Judy, Daniel Jones. And so I wanted him to fall a tiny bit. Obviously, he didn't. So we're getting to a point where it's like we're going to just say screw the position. Um, and we're going to get strong elsewhere. And so, as I'm looking at the board right now, a couple names are sticking out to me. One of them is Jordan Addison, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. The other is Terry McLaurin, and the last is Brandon Ayuk. Those guys are kind of sticking out to me at the wide receiver position. But
They're
I also
definitely
see
on my
one.
radar.
You said what?
They're definitely on my radar.
Yeah. And so then I'm also looking at the running backs, though, and there's not many that I feel super comfortable with as an RB1, but there's one that does. And so I am going to take my running back one here, and I'm going J.K. Dobbins.
That's not bad.
So Jordan Addison comes off the board, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, George Pickens, and then Kirk Cousins, leaving
Pretty
you.
much, pretty much all the guys that that I was looking at.
Okay, you see Spacenfeld here. He says Ward's going to have to hammer those mid-round wide receivers.
I am, but Space and Field, I don't think they're gonna let me. I don't think they're gonna let me hammer these wide receivers. Let's see here. Yeah, they're just yeah, they're taking me to town here a little bit. Let's see here.
How do you feel about? Actually, I'll let you focus on your pick. I'm going to talk a little bit here about
Okay.
the quarterbacks because I feel like we're slimming down fairly quickly. There's not a lot of names that I feel super comfortable with here. There's Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Will Levis, Derek Carr, Geno, Mac Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Hendon Hooker, Jordan Love. Like, it's getting slim.
Oh man, it really kills me that DJ Moore was taken because that's definitely I expected him to be there. All right, so I want to win now. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let me see. Let me look at this age real quick. Okay, I want to take Brandon Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. That went the way I want. So now I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to take him because I'm going
Okay.
to bank on his potential of being a wide receiver one again.
Okay. And then, so after that, you see Treylon Burks come off the board, Russell Wilson, Dalvin Cook, Dalton Kincaid, and Terry McLaurin. I'm not going to lie. I really wanted to get Russell Wilson with this pick. And the reason why I wanted Russell Wilson is of those guys left on the board, Jared Goff, Kenny Pickett, Will Levis, some of these others, we've seen Russell Wilson be a QB1 for fantasy. I do think that Sean Payton can help Russell Wilson. If he doesn't, I mean, the writing's on the wall. He's washed at this point if he doesn't improve. But I was going to be willing to trust Russell Wilson, especially because um, I have Kyler Murray, who's probably going to miss the first half of the year. So I was kind of looking at somebody who I could plug in for the first half of the season until Kyler gets healthy. But I don't know if I'm willing to say that Pickett, Goff, or Carr. I'm not willing to say any of them is much better than the others. I think Jared Goff is the best, but I'd rather just pick who's left or who's last on that board of those guys for the most part. So I'm going to look over again at this wide receiver position and somebody who I think is a little bit undervalued in the community right now. Actually, you know what? I was going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I was going to take a reach on a young guy. I'm going to add a vet because I think this guy's just good, and he's going to be good for a while. And I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. He's 28 years old. He still can have, 2 to 3 more seasons where he can produce wide receiver one numbers. So I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. At worst, he's going to be a wide receiver two. We've seen that happen at all times. But if Deshaun Watson gets back to normal, the ceiling is going to be super high for Amari Cooper.
Yeah, yeah. Just got to hang it all on Deshaun and hope that he is who he was.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look back at it, like for what it's worth, I don't know why it's not showing it here. Is it showing it here? Oh yeah, it is. So even last year, in a kind of a down year, you see Cooper finished as a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. If Deshaun gets better, Cooper could be crazy, like a crazy value right there. But it worked out fine for me because the guy who I was going to look at ends up coming back around. And so I'm going to double tab wide receiver here, and I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson for the Washington Commanders.
Jahan Dotson. You know what? Man, I want to cuss you real bad, but I'm not. I want to cuss you real bad because you're messing with my young and old strategy. Like I want to take established veterans and pair them with other young wide receivers. So I think this pick, I'm probably going to have to go old and young. I could go semi young, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Even though I can't start, the son of a you know what took. I should have just took Keenan Allen.
Is that who you were looking at?
Yeah, that's the old I was going to pair with the kind of young.
I like the
Um,
Deontay pick though.
because he's 26. So I mean, he's like DJ Moore's age.
I think Deontay's just for the entirety of his career, he's just going to be criminally undervalued, like forever.
I agree.
Because he was just drafted as what? I mean, there had to have been 20 wide receivers that came off the board before him at this point.
Had to be. This is going to be a tough one. Let me look at my wide receivers.
You drafted him as wide receiver 38.
Who, Deontay?
Yeah,
Huh.
that's that's very undervalued.
Let's see here.
What position are you looking at here?
Either quarterback or wide receiver.
Okay.
Um, Mike Williams. I've never liked Mike Williams. He just gets injured too much. Mike Evans' quarterback is about to be Baker Mayfield. Mingo. What was your draft grade on Mingo? I don't remember us having him
I had
too high
Mingo.
up there.
That's a good question. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I want to say I had Mingo as my wide receiver 7 in the class, maybe 8. Um, I'm pulling it up right now.
You know what? Against better judgment, I'm going to do this because I like the talent.
Okay.
I like the talent. He's young. This is a dynasty draft. So I
Yeah.
mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. I
So
heavily thought about quarterback there, though. If
okay.
there's
So
a good,
I did have Mingo as wide receiver 7. I had Josh Downs as wide receiver 5 in the class. So you ended up taking Downs over Mingo. That's what I would have done as well.
yeah.
Um,
Would you have taken Downs where I took him instead of taking Mike Evans and Mike Williams?
um, I'm not against it because um, with Ridley and DJ, I don't mind adding another young piece, but I do think you have probably three guys who can be wide receiver 2s or better already. So I don't hate the wide receivers. I think you're just going to have to continue smashing the position to fill it out because you're kind of going to have to go with a quantity over quality approach at the wide
Yeah,
receiver
so a
position.
platoon approach. Yeah,
Yeah, and we have Esco in here. He says Mingo, take Mingo. He said young AJ Brown, and I don't know if I agree with that, but um, hey, everybody has an opinion, and that's the best thing about fantasy football. You see, Miles Sanders comes off the board, A Chain comes off the board, Mingo,
whoa,
Pacheco, and Kendra Miller, and probably to
that's
your
a steal.
surprise war, I was really hoping Isaiah Pacheco came around to me because I was going to draft Isaiah Pacheco. Um, but he didn't make it back. So I'm going to
There's
go
a
with,
run on running backs.
yeah, a little bit of a run. And I felt comfortable with Pacheco as an RB2. I think he has another year or two in that window. Um, but I also don't mind just throwing a guy in there at RB2 either. So I'm going to go with my QB3, and he's going to be the last quarterback that I draft in this mock draft. And I'm going to go with Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions.
Not bad, not bad.
And it worked out well because we just had 2 more quarterbacks come off the board, so it's getting slim. James Cook comes off the board as well. Somebody I would have liked to put in as an RB2, Tyler Algier off the board, and then a quick little run at tight end, Michael Mayer, Dalton Schultz, and Darren Waller. So I'm going to look at the tight end position. And I've punted it so far to this point.
I feel like the state of the tight end position in the NFL in 2023 is that we're almost on like some type of tight end renaissance. Like, I have no qualms right now of waiting till the last pick of this draft to take my second tight end. Like, I mean, where's Cole Kmet going to go? Then we got all the rookies that came in this year. I mean, I think that there's just options, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think too also like if you're not getting one of the top tight ends, and that to me is going to be Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, Hawkinson, and then I guess like probably you could include Kittle in there too. He's just a little bit older, but if you're not getting like one of the top 5 tight ends, you might as well take a platoon approach with the tight ends as well because um, there's probably very minimal difference at all between tight end 7 and tight end 14. Like the points per game that you get out of those types of guys is probably very minimal at that point. So if you just take 2 or 3 of those types of tight ends and play the matchups, you're probably getting the best production you can possibly get out of that without having a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
Um, Spacenfeld says he's a Downs truther, but Mingo did get the draft capital. So With that being said, I am going to pick my pick. I do have 12 seconds left. So I am going to end up going with a guy that I think is going to get some decent work this year. And I'm going to go with David Montgomery. He was signed to the Detroit Lions, I think, for a reason, man. I think they wanted him to fill that James or that Jamal Williams role. And they technically picked David Montgomery over Jamal Williams. So I like David Montgomery. I'm more than happy to slot him in here as my RB2.
Huh, there goes Cole Kmet.
What's your opinion on the David Montgomery to Detroit thing? Because you're the Bears guy.
Yeah, me and him aren't on the same page right now. He's been running his mouth,
Yeah,
speaking
he wants to play
ills.
Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, he can get his little 70 yards. I mean, I don't know what he. I don't think he's going to be as good as Jamal Williams was last season. To be
I
quite
mean,
honest
it's
with you,
Jamal had a ton of touchdowns, and that's really the majority of where his fantasy points came from was falling in the end zone that much. But I think David's a better pass catcher than Jamal. I know they just drafted the best pass catcher in the draft at the running back position in Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think there's a role for Montgomery, man. I think that they want to run two running backs. I think we've seen that. And I think we've seen that both of those running backs can be fantasy relevant.
yeah, yeah,
And I was deciding between Monty and Brian Robinson, and I would much rather place my bet on Monty than B Rob.
yes. I agree with you. I'm kind of just in this weird spot right now. Man, I feel like
So you picked Aaron Rodgers, though.
I did because I felt like that was a nice way to round things out.
Yeah. So now you're going with a QB room of Josh Allen, Tua, and Aaron Rodgers.
Which I don't think that's bad. Obviously, Josh Allen is the straw that stirs the cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I think that's how
Esco
you said
says he said, "Man, I like Montgomery. I think he's totally underrated. 10 plus touchdowns, I think." And then Spacenfeld says, "I'm with Esco. Monty was a great pick." So,
well, you guys, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, but David Montgomery is not going to be getting 10 touchdowns this year. I can assure you of that.
guys, Wars just look. It's a bear. It left. It went to the Lions, and now he's talking trash about the Bears. I understand it. I understand it, guys. But Cole Kmet comes off the board, and Njoku comes off the board. Tajay Spears. You went Jalen Hyatt, James Conner, Cortland Sutton, Jaden Reed. I kind of wanted James Conner to come back around
I
because you
think
and
that
I
would
have
have been a
talked
good
about it.
pick. That would have been a good pick.
Yeah, because you and I talked about it. He's going to get a lot of work early this year, and I feel like it would have been some pretty good value as far as the production is going to go for my running back slot. But I also am not opposed to taking a shot here on somebody. It sounds kind of gross, and probably it's probably not a pick that I'm in love with, but I'm trying to buy production at a position where there's not a lot of production. Plus, for what it's worth, I am creating a stack with Trevor Lawrence, and I'm going to go with Evan Engram.
That's not too bad. Oh, wow. Did you see that? That's interesting.
Herbert and Roshan back to back.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Wow, Zeke got drafted. He's not even on the team.
Yeah, Juju comes off the board. Mac Jones, Tyler Lockett, Antonio Gibson, Elijah Moore, and then Ezekiel Elliott. And so I'm definitely not looking at tight end again right now. So I'm going to look again at my running backs and my wide receivers. And I was on a video the other day. If you guys watched it, I was talking about handcuffs with high potential, running back handcuffs with high potential. And I'm drafting this guy because I don't think he's a handcuff. I think I'm getting a starting running back right here, and I'm going with Alexander Madison for the Minnesota Vikings.
That's not bad. That's
And
not
then we
bad
have
at
that
all.
run of the young tight ends, Sam Laporta, Greg Dulcich, and Chiga Conquo. Um, we just had three of them off the board back to back to back.
If I could go back and tell you, I probably wish I wouldn't have taken Aaron Rodgers at this point because if I would have been told that Brock Purdy, Stafford, Love would have been here at this pick, I would have just taken one of those guys. Um, so what am I to do? Um, I feel like I can take what I believe. No, I don't want to take him. This is a dynasty.
I'm going to go through and just recap our teams down to this point so far because we got some people in here that are new. I see the view count went up a little bit, but so far, this is my team right now. Let me pull it up. You see Trevor Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Chris Olave, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Evan Engram, Amari Cooper, Jahan Dotson, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, and Alexander Madison. And War, your team is, let me pull it down. Your team is Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, and Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position. You have Travis Kelce, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Brandon Ayuk, Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson, Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, and Darnell Mooney. So
I feel
walk me
like,
through the Mooney pick.
well,
Because you've kind of been
only,
against Mooney this offseason a little bit. As a Bears
I,
guy, I
I
feel like
have,
you've been a little against him.
but I'm against these other guys a lot more.
Okay.
Sky Moore, Michael Thomas, Wandale Robinson. Um, I'm debating now if I should take a running back or if I should just go ahead and get one more wide receiver just to round things out. Jacoby Myers with Jimmy Garoppolo. Are we really loving that? I mean, he's coming off of Mac Jones, so I mean, if you think that Jimmy G is that much better than Mac Jones, then I'm not going to take a swing on Michael Thomas after I already took a swing on Calvin Ridley. I mean, Michael Thomas just had hardware removed from his foot 10 days ago, so not going to touch that. Cedric Tillman, I could go Cedric Tillman, but I don't know what Deshaun Watson is doing over there. Oh yeah, man, it's kind of slim pickings now, man. I'm honestly, I think I'm just gonna play it super safe. I think I'm gonna play it super safe and take Brandon Cooks. Like I know that sounds crazy, but I
I'm
kind of
not
just
mad
need
at you.
I need some stability at that wide receiver position. I don't have like a true stud there, and I kind of backed myself into that corner.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you. Brandon Cooks comes off the board, then Sky Moore, Wandell Robinson, Dawson Knox, Jacoby Myers, and then Jamal Williams. Um, so as I'm looking at this board here, I probably would like to add one more running back potentially to this build and just go in there with 4 guys at the running back position and play 2 of the 4 every week. Obviously, in a real league, we would have more bench spots than just the 5, but
Yeah, yeah,
um, for this sake, we're just doing it this way. I do think it's a lot of Jags at the wide receiver position right here.
yeah.
There's some guys who have some upside, but it's just a bunch of so-so receivers for the most part. Um, Guys that you really only want to play if there's an injury or you're on a bye week or something. So I do think I'm going to just go back and double tap that running back position. Just after getting one in the 12th round, I think I'm going to slide back down, and I think I'm just going to take a shot here with Damian Harris with the Buffalo Bills and hope that he gets some of the goal line work.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a pretty solid believer in James Cook, um, hey, I know that there is a range of outcomes where James Cook isn't who we want him to be, and maybe Damian Harris just gets worked in some more, or maybe there's an injury to James Cook and I have the ability to play Damian Harris as a starter most of the year. So I'm going to go Damian Harris as my last running back for some depth here, and that's going to fill out my running back room with J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Alexander Madison, and Damian Harris.
All right, that's not bad. I mean, looking at your team, your team is rock solid. I think I prefer your team to mine. I mean, I'm also looking at the fact that you kind of accepted that Kyler Murray, the weeks you have to miss of Kyler Murray, and
Yeah,
I
I mean,
accepted the head injuries of Tua. So
yeah. I mean, I'm more than comfortable streaming Jared Goff for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it's going to be.
I'm just not a fan of my wide receiver position. That's all. It's a lot of maybes and what ifs.
Yeah, I don't love much at the tight end position that's sitting here. There's not a lot that I like at all. There's really not really anything that I like. So I'm not even going to touch that. I'll touch that with my last pick. Um,
Yeah,
I'm going to go wide
that's
receiver
what's
here
there for
just to
sure.
add one more. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is just for the sake of it, I want to shoot somebody with upside. I want to shoot somebody that, potentially could start out hot. And if they start out a little bit hot this season, you could trade them for more than who's on the board right now. That's the way I think. I like to think of like who's going to see value increases so I can flip them for something later.
Yeah,
And the best person to fit that mold right now is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. If Odell comes in and has a couple 20-point games or 15-point games to start off the season with Lamar and they just want to feed Odell the ball, somebody's going to buy in and I'm going to be able to trade him for more than he's worth right now.
yeah.
Plus there's a real chance that he could be at as much as I love Rashad Bateman, there's a real possibility that they signed Odell to replace Bateman because they don't like what they see. And I do think that the Ravens are going to run 3 wide receiver sets. I think they draft Zay Flowers to be the one eventually, and so it's an interesting wide receiver room. If I were making bets, Odell would be the last of the 3 receivers that I make a bet on. But I also just realized the value that's on the board right there and the range of outcomes for some of these guys. I mean, what's the reality? If KJ Osborne comes out and has a good season, like how much are you going to be able to trade KJ Osborne for? Not much.
Not much, no.
If Odell comes out and has a good season, you're going to be able to trade him for a ton. Not a ton, but you're going to I bet you could move Odell if he has 2-3 games where he has 15 points, you could go and flip him for a Mike Williams or a Juju.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. Mike Williams and Juju. Man, Slim Pickens at running back. I got to take somebody.
It
I
is.
mean, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire that far down the depth chart? I mean, yeah,
He has been completely forgotten by the community at this point. And rightfully so. Like he hasn't done anything to really. I mean, let's be honest, War. I had been one of his only defenders for years, and I don't even speak about him that much anymore.
I'm going to take a risk here and take Deuce Vaughn. I'm going to
Okay.
take Deuce Vaughn because I'm just going to trust that he's going to be the number 2 behind Pollard.
Okay.
And I'm going to trust that Zeke is not going to get ball back. I wasn't
Okay.
going to go. I know Dante Foreman was there. Honestly, I could see him being the running back 3 in Chicago. So it's not even going to be a point in me taking him here. So now with this last pick, I'm going to have to take some tight end. And honestly, oh man, this is Slim Pickens. I could tell you guys now, for you guys who are watching, even I don't think this is a winning team. that I have. I don't think this is a winning team.
Dude drafted the roster and now he wants to rebuild.
Yeah, I'm already look. I would go into the season pack trying to trade picks. Like
Oh my gosh.
the second pick is on the block. Okay, who can I put up here?
I like this
Mike.
team. I like my team.
Yeah, I like your team too. Obviously, I'm not picking Mike Gesicki. He's dead. So,
I mean,
um,
go check out the Instagram because that has been blowing up my phone for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. People are just, I don't know, people just keep liking that video.
I'm gonna take
Tucker
Tucker
Craft, huh?
Craft just because. Just
Here goes a
because.
running back run. You see that? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Deontay Foreman, Eric Gregg, Kenny Gainwell, Rashad Penny. Basically, everybody taking shots at who could be the RB2s on their roster.
Yeah.
And I think there's some decent value at the running back position down here. I don't mind shooting Zamir White. I don't mind shooting Dwayne McBride. Um, Michael Carter still could have some value for what it's worth. Jeff Wilson is kind of sneaky. I think he could have more of a role this year than we think. The wide receiver position, again, there's some guys that I'm looking at, but I'm not going to take any of them because ultimately I need to go and get my tight end. And it's just shocking to me that there's still Jordan Love and Desmond Ritter and some of these guys still on the board at QB.
That's insane. I would have definitely waited to the last round to draft
If
that
you knew
third
they were
running
there.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically Jordan Love.
And you know what, man? I know you said you weren't going to draft him. Mike Gesicki is one of the best players on the board to me right now. Because if he beats out Hunter Henry and gets the starting reps, he might be able to do something. There's just not a lot of receiving options out there to where maybe he gets some target share. But another name that I was looking at is Zach Ertz. There's a potential that he could have a really good season. It just depends on if they transition over to Trey McBride now or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to, but maybe Ertz has some value. And then last but not least, my dog, Irv Smith. Look, he's the starting tight end for the Bengals, and they haven't went and added anybody. And there was rumors they were going to add somebody in the draft, and they didn't. And so I was going to draft Irv Smith. I was in the middle of doing it, and obviously it just auto picked for me. So I guess I got Noah Fant. I'm going to change that. Whatever, it won't let me do it, but that's fine. Whatever. So I was going to pick Irv Smith right there, but it auto picked. So, anyways, Darnell Washington, Michael Carter, Kayshon Boutte, and Claypool come off the board to round it out. So go ahead and tell me your roster war from top to
Oh man,
bottom.
do I have to?
Yes,
I
sir.
have Josh Allen, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Brandon Ayuk, Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson, Travis Kelsey, Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, Darnell Mooney, Brandon Cooks, Deuce Vaughn, and Tucker Craft.
Okay. All right. And my roster is let me pull it back up here. My roster is Trevor Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, Chris Olave, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Evan Engram, Amari Cooper, Jahan Dotson, Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Alexander Madison, Damian Harris, Odell Beckham Jr., and Noah Fant, aka Irv Smith Jr. So that is my roster, man. Give me, first of all, if you've watched the video to this point, put in the comments right now whose team you prefer. Whose team are you taking out of Mine and Wars?
Come
And
on.
then secondly, um, let us know what your favorite pick was from each of us and what your least favorite pick was. Ward, what kind of as we kind of debrief this draft, what is your initial feelings? How do you feel like if you go back and do it differently, what are you doing differently? Just kind of give me an overall, how do you feel? What would you do differently?
I would have traded down in the first round.
Okay.
I would have traded down. This typically always seems to be my experience when I draft high. Is that for some reason the rest of the roster is a little too top heavy. I feel like I could make a better roster with like picks closer to the middle.
Okay.
My first actual misstep though was probably taking Travis Kelsey in the second round. That was
Yeah.
probably my biggest misstep. But at that point, I let me see who got taken after Kelsey. because I think that's kind of what threw my entire like plan off. I was Saquon, so no Saquon. I wasn't looking at Saquon. I guess the run. My plan was to go quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback. But by time it got down to be in the second round, I didn't feel like there was really a quarterback I should have a wide receiver I should have drafted there.
It was that third round coming back. It was a long turn for you, and that third round, and then it comes back the fourth round, and in that turn there was 10 wide receivers drafted in those picks.
Yeah, so that kind of got me. That kind of got me there. Honestly, if I had the fourth spot, I think that would have been a nice sweet spot for me because I definitely would have took JJ there for the fourth pick.
Over
And
Joe Burrow.
man, that's tough. That is tough. Now
But
I probably would have took Joe Burrow to be honest.
Spacenfeld says he said, I know Team 4 was a CPU, but boy, I like that team. JJ, A. Rich, Garrett Wilson, Mark Andrews, Quentin Johnston, George Pickens, Russell Wilson. Yeah, it's a pretty solid roster, man. They kind of punted the running back position too. They filled it out with a bunch of young guys, A-Chain, Bigsby, Spears, Mitchell, and they even added one later to Deontay Foreman. But not a bad roster. I think as I look at my roster, man, I think obviously I'm not mad at the Jared Goff pick. I really am not. I think it's good value where I got him at. I think the upside is still high for Jared Goff. I think he really can be a low end QB1 for fantasy football. Similar to kind of how Kirk Cousins is. I think that's kind of what he could be this year when JMO gets back on the field and they kind of get rolling with Jahmyr Gibbs and some more. But if I would have known that I could have got some of those other guys like Jimmy G's and things later, I would have just picked a skill position there and been a little bit more comfortable. I probably would have ended up taking James Cook and then had James Cook be my RB2 instead of David Montgomery, and then had David Montgomery be on the bench. So that's probably something that I would have done differently. But other than that, I feel like for the most part it went to plan. My whole goal coming into this draft, and this is kind of what you guys should be doing when you're doing startups yourself or mock drafts and whatever, is you should kind of go into it with I would call it a somewhat solidified idea of what you want to do. You obviously have to stay fluid and kind of go through the ebbs and flows of a draft because things change and you're going to get value, and you kind of want to just gobble up as much value as you can in a startup. But I knew I wanted to build my team around a foundation of strong quarterbacks, and then the goal was to lock up one of those top tight ends, but it just didn't present itself in a fashion that I was comfortable with. And so I ended up transitioning that foundation that I wanted in a strong tight end to a very strong young wide receiver room. And so that's what I went with: Olave, London, Pittman. And so yeah, you just got to stay fluid, but stick to a plan, come into it with a plan, make sure you have some things ready to go. And that's kind of the best advice that I can give for you guys. Any final thoughts for you, War, before we head on out of here?
Yeah, it's a shit roster. That's my final thought. That's my final thought, man. The wide receiver depth just isn't there, man, for me on this team.
Well, maybe we'll run it back. Maybe we'll run it back in a month or two, and maybe this is what we'll do every once in a while. We'll just do a mock draft for a startup and see how ADPs are falling, see what guys are climbing, see what guys are, just see how it's going. And maybe you can get redemption on me in the next one because you don't seem to be very happy with this roster, man.
I need sweet redemption. I do.
So we'll get you some redemption in the next one. If you guys checked it out, I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for stopping in, chatting with us, Esco, Spacenfeld, everybody else who hopped in and watched some of this live that didn't even comment. I appreciate you guys too. You guys are awesome. Thank you for checking it out. If you guys could do us a favor before you leave and before you click off of the video, just go ahead and drop a like and make sure you're subscribed. If you do those things for us, that really just helps us out. That helps us grow. And at the end of the day, our goal is to help you guys win as many Dynasty Fantasy Football championships as possible and help as many people win those championships as possible. a little. I'll let you guys into the room a little bit.
Uh-oh, what he got? What he got?
One of them fell, but we take pride in our dynasty championships, man. I got another one right here. We take pride in dynasty championships, so we want to help you guys get those and get to that
Real
road to glory.
classy. Real
So
classy, Andrew. Real classy.
look, I won both of these against War. One of these actually was against War in a championship. It was it this one? Was it this one, War?
I erased it from my
2021?
memory. Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers got pulled or some shit. But yeah, we take pride in those guys. So go ahead and help us out, help us grow. And Fantasy Champs, if you guys want to throw us a little discount code or something for showing off the rings, go ahead and do that too. But anyways, all of you guys, thank you again. I've thanked you 100 times. I'm not going to thank you anymore today. I'll thank you on the next video. And with that being said, we will see you guys then. Peace out.